God damn it. It should probably help if I unmuted my mic when I actually started Ask the King. Alright, so epic fail there. Alright, today is September 5th, 2013. Welcome to episode 36 of Ask the King. Thank you for joining me today. And I want to warn everyone that today is going to be a longer episode. And when I say that is I was reviewing all the questions this month for Ask the King. And really there were a lot of intelligent, interesting questions in there. And I really had a hard time deciding between which questions I was going to answer today. To the point where I said, you know what? I don't want to cut out some of these questions. And I think I have over 20 questions this month alone where I'm going to be answering them in this episode. So if you're watching this on YouTube, it won't really affect you. As you know, I cut the episode around 30 minutes long. In fact, I'm timing it right now on my iPhone to know, how much longer I have per part. For the stream, all this means is that, I'm going to be taking short breaks between each part of the episode, and we're going to continue on. Now, we are going to do, as usual, we are going to do questions, live questions here with the stream chat. So what I would ask is my mods, if you could enable the raffle. I know I saw a few people in there, Color Me Kevin and a few others. If you could enable the stream raffle so that people can start submitting their questions. And in the last part of Ask the King, I will be drawing random questions from the raffle to answer here live on the show, okay? So hopefully someone in the chat knows how to do that, who's a mod. If not, it may be pretty chaotic, but we'll have to see. Okay, so, getting started, because I have so many questions to answer this month. Let me bring up the file here. Okay. Okay, so the first question this month looks like some... Here, let me see if this works. Hold on. I'm going to try to enable the raffle myself. Oh, I have to do open. Raffle open. Okay, so there you go. The raffle is now open. If you want to submit a question for the show, it's !raffle, I think, and then just type your question. Please, no duplicate questions. Please be serious. Make sure you're asking a question. You're not just making a statement. We want to have some serious questions when I actually do draw from the raffle at the end of the show, okay? All right, first question of the show this week, or this month, is, by the way, once again, I am reading questions off of my laptop over here, so please bear with me. My printer is still busted. I never had a chance to fix it. First question is from Master of Awesomeness, a nice recurring question asker and viewer, and he asks, "Hey Phil, are you a local celebrity in your own town? How many people know you, and do they know what you're known for?" I am not a celebrity anywhere. First of all, I like to say that. I'm just a common guy who makes videos on YouTube and enjoys video games. That's it. That's all I really see myself as, okay? In my local town, nobody. Well, I take that back. The only people in my local town who probably know who I am and what I do is Howard. Howard lives in the same town as me. My friend Drew, who, he's been a long time, friend of mine since we used to play in video game arcades back in the day, so obviously he knows who I am and what I do on YouTube. And the people at my local GameStop. And it's funny, because I've been going to this GameStop for what, like 2.5 to 3 years, okay? And they had no clue that I was a person who made videos for the internet until just like 2 or 3 months ago. 2 or 3 months ago, one of them stumbled upon my stuff and said, "Wait a minute, that guy looks familiar." And they watched it, and lo and behold, they were like, "Yeah, that's his voice. Wait a minute, he's talking about picking games up at GameStop. That's him." So, pretty much, it's just my local employees at my local GameStop, and, people like who know me from, either being a friend of mine over the years or even being involved in my content. People get this misconception that YouTube popularity is like, it's this big thing. It's not. YouTube popularity is very fickle. Not a lot of people know people from YouTube. It's funny because there's the huge YouTubers like, to PewDiePie, to Buskis, Ray William Johnson, who's bigger than any of them. The biggest people, go ask the common person about that. They'll be like, huh? What? It's really this online community is a lot different from kind of the in-person community. And I've noticed that in a lot of cases. And so, no, I'm not a local celebrity. No one in my area really knows who I am besides the people who sell me video games. Okay, next question is from PES Charlie. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, so I just spelled it out. Basically, you know, it's Pest Charlie or something. And he asks, do you think that games like Call of Duty don't have much creativity, and when you're playing the game, it feels like there's no passion put into it by the game developers? Do they really deserve to be the best-selling gaming franchises? And I think there was a little bit more. I didn't copy his whole question. I think there's a little bit more saying, isn't it a shame that there are games like BioShock Infinite and The Last of Us, really, you know, AAA great titles that came out this year, and they didn't even sell close to what games like Call of Duty are selling. Let me put it to you this way, okay? These games that are the super popular games right now, let's be honest, what are the super popular games? Call of Duty, Minecraft, and there's one or two more, but those are the two big ones. Those are the ones that every mainstream person who oh, video games, are you talking about Call of Duty or Minecraft? I mean, that's really the association. It's kind of like back in the day it used to be video games. Oh, you mean Nintendo? Because that's how it was in the 1980s and 90s. If you said video games, people said, oh, Nintendo games. They even called them Nintendo games, not video games, okay? These games obviously are popular for a reason. Now, Call of Duty, I think, really became popular at a time when they did Modern Warfare, the very first Modern Warfare, because it took this series that was traditionally set in World War II era, brought it into the modern era. And when it brought it into the modern era, they really upped the production values of the game. For the very first time in one of these first-person shooters, it had a really kind of epic story with gripping characters who you got to know over the course of the game, and you cared about. And a first-person shooter, you care about the people in it. It's like, I thought you were just here to run and gun and kill people. It was a lot different than what had been done with first-person shooters previously. And it really set the bar. And since then, I think a lot of people just kind of say, you know what, there really hasn't been a series that has the production values, that has that kind of just oomph that the Call of Duty series has. Now, admittedly, over the years, the series is just more of the same, okay? There's not been anything, wow, it blew me away, it's revolutionarily new in Call of Duty. The only thing I would really say is zombies. The zombie maps that Treyarch has been putting out for the Call of Duty games at least gives a little bit of originality and a new twist to the game. But outside of that, it's pretty much more of the same. Every year you play it online, it seems like you're playing the same damn game as last year with a few tweaks, a few new weapons, but people still play the hell out of it. And I think really what it comes down to is, number one, the game's easy to jump into, and number two, the game is addicting, okay? Easy to play, jump in, get addicted to it. And that's what it is. People buy this game every year. The same people, by the way. It's not like there's a huge new fan base every year for the game. No, it's the same people. Buy the game every single year. Get the new loadouts. Get the new maps. Get the new weapons. Go out there. Play hours on end. You know, it's repetitive, sure. But they like it. They think that there's competition. They get this feeling, you know. And even though it's the common person could jump in, and within a few minutes you can learn how to play it. And that's the other thing, too. So, you know, that's really why that kind of game has mainstream appeal. Minecraft, again, not a huge learning curve. You can jump right into it. You can play 100 billion mods from the get-go, so it's not just you're playing the core game. You can play all these cool, neat mods from the get-go. It's addicting to do it. Even though it's not some epic story and something that's like a grand scale, you're still addicted to it. And really, that's where I think there's a dichotomy now within video games. You've got one group of games that are really, while they're complex stories, amazing graphics, you know, they blow you away with groundbreaking features, and then you've got these other games on the other side that everyone plays because they're so easy to jump into, they're easy to play, they don't take a lot of time and dedication to learn how to play, but they're still fun and addicting. And if you want my honest opinion, is there a problem with that? No, I don't think there's a problem with that, and I think that right now, because games are becoming more popular, more mainstream, there is a place for all kinds of games. So, I'm not, you know, when I say here, I say, oh man, people more, all this Call of Duty, Minecraft, Call of Duty, Minecraft, it's because those are what's popular. When you search for videos on YouTube, what are the two that come up all the time? Call of Duty and Minecraft. You see that more than anything else, okay? But there's a place for all kinds of games. There's no reason to be, oh, I hate Call of Duty and Minecraft because they're the most popular right now, so fuck them. I gotta be this person who always turns against what's popular and hates it. And that's not what I am. And it's hilarious because when I play Call of Duty, people say I'm a Call of Duty fanboy. When I don't play Call of Duty and I say things like, man, Call of Duty, why is it so popular? People say I'm a Call of Duty hater. And it's just because there's these crazy, opinionated, biased communities for and against these style of games. There always is this kind of stuff for popular stuff. So I don't think, am I disappointed that those games are popular? No. What I'm disappointed at is that there are people who refuse to be open-minded and realize that there is an amazingly large world of games out there to experience, and that the whole video game experience isn't just about Call of Duty and Minecraft. Yes, they may be the most popular right now. That doesn't mean that they're the face of gaming. There are amazing games that came out this year, and I'm not just talking big AAA titles, indie games. I just played Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I fucking loved the game. It's probably going to be one of my top 10 favorite games of the year, unless I completely get blown away in this fourth quarter with the hardcore gaming season, because the game was that goddamn good, even though it was short. But almost no one gave the game a shot. They were like, what the hell's this? I didn't hear about this. I refuse to even check it out. By the way, I'm going to go watch Minecraft videos for the next 4 hours. And it's like that was such a closed-minded, attitude to have. You got to check out new stuff, because this is how you're going to understand the breadth and the width of what gaming is. It's not just one or two small experiences. It's a wide gamut of stuff, and to be closed-minded like that is completely the wrong attitude to have, in my opinion. Okay? Next question. Hey Phil, I want to let you know that I've been a follower for your channel for 2 months now, and I really just want to thank you for it. Well, thank you for being a follower for 2 months. This is, by the way, his name is Raveblade, okay? So he has 2 questions for me. The first is, what was your favorite anime that I watched growing up? You might find it interesting, because when I was growing up was just the period of time when anime was starting to hit Western audiences. Before, like when I was growing up as a small child, there was no anime whatsoever. No one even knew what it was. I didn't know there was Japanese animation. And keep in mind, it was huge over in Japan, but no one in America even knew what the hell it was, okay? Then all of a sudden, it was during my teen years, you started seeing things, and if you can believe it, one of the very first animes that got like dubbed and brought to the United States was Sailor Moon. Sailor Moon was like, people looked at it as an oddity. They were like, what am I watching? This is so peculiar. These 5 girls who are all teenagers in high school, and they have magical powers where they transform into superheroes and they fight monsters. But it was so weirdly done, because they barely ever fought. They talked for like 99% of the episode, and then 1% there was a little bit of combat at the end of every episode. And obviously it was geared towards girls, but it was funny because it was one of the first animes in America. A lot of guys watched it, which was kind of funny, because they were like, oh, look at those hot anime babes, I gotta watch this show. Then, piece by piece, little by little, anime started to be dubbed more and brought into the United States. And of course, the biggest one was Dragon Ball Z, which is funny because actually Dragon Ball was the original series, Dragon Ball, but it did come over to the United States, but it didn't really catch on. I remember seeing that like in the morning, Dragon Ball, and I was like, it's slow moving, it's kind of a comedy series, it's adventure, but it's not really that great. But then when Dragon Ball Z came out, that series had a different turn. It was more serious. It was gritty. There was action-packed. People beating the living shit out of each other. Fucking using giant energy blasts to destroy mountains and planets and kill people. And, it was crazy. And people really liked that. And that was really where anime kind of jumped into the mainstream in America, at least North America. And then subsequently after that, it was like, oh shit, it's a gold mine. People like that shit. Bring everything else over. And then all of a sudden there was this huge flood of anime that hit the United States. The second question for Raveblade is, if you had a superpower, what would it be and why? It would probably be one of 2 things. It would either be... Actually, take that back. Probably one of 3 things. Either teleportation, okay? The ability to morph, meaning being a shapeshifter. Because think of all the shit you could get away with if you were a shapeshifter. You could always look like someone else, get away with everything, run into an alley, change your shape, and that's it. Or invisibility. Because invisibility, again, similar to shapeshifter, no one can see you. You could probably get away with a lot of stuff. Okay. Next question is from Trinhetto. Tringetto? I'm actually not sure how to pronounce his name, so I apologize if I got it wrong. And his question is, hey Phil, I've been a fan of your content for years, ever since you were active on your original DarksydePhil channel. Even though this is the case, I still have a question about your username. What inspired you to put Darkside in DarksydePhil? Does it have to do with your fighting game days or any other experience? I don't remember if I've ever answered this question fully. I know that many people over the years have asked me this very same question, so I figured this would be a good opportunity to bring it up and finally give you a definitive answer, okay? First of all, you may notice that the dark side in DarksydePhil is spelled with a Y, not with an I. That was intentional. I didn't want people to think that Darkside stood for like the dark side of the Force and that I was a huge Star Wars fanboy or anything like that. I am a fan of Star Wars, by the way. I do like the original trilogy of movies, but I'm not a fanboy. I'm not one of these people that are like, oh, it's the best thing ever made, and I didn't line up in front of the movie theater for a week before the prequels were released, and, you know, I'm not nerding out, geeking out that they've announced that they're going to make new Star Wars movies. No, I'm not like that, but I am a fan of the lore and the content, and even the games. I've read comics. I've done a lot of stuff with Star Wars over my life, okay? Really what happened was this. Back in, I'd say, the mid-90s, so we're going back almost 20 years, okay? I was online on America Online. Yeah, yes, you might be saying, what the hell is that? A lot of people don't even know what AOL is. That was the way that we got on the internet back then. It wasn't like, oh, you have an ISP and you just plug a cable in and you're online. No, back then we used our phone lines to get online. And America Online was the company that everyone used in, you know, the United States. So when I was trying to sign up for America Online, I tried every fucking variation of a name. Phil Burnell, you know, Cool Phil, blah, blah, blah. I had all these names I wanted to use. They were all taken, all right? So eventually I said, watch this. I'm going to pick the stupidest fucking thing. I guarantee you that won't be taken. And I typed in, whoa, Moses. So the word like, whoa, you know, like, whoa, and Moses, the biblical character. And, of course, it goes in fine. And I was like, oh. And I was stuck with this name because I entered it, and that was the name that worked. And I had to use this name, Whoa Moses, for like 3 years on America Online, okay? So everyone at school knew me by Whoa Moses. It was a really weird thing, such a weird name, okay? And then, finally, when I started getting into competitive Street Fighter, I started posting up on different forum sites and different, you know, message boards and stuff about Street Fighter. And I was like, this fucking Whoa Moses name needs to go. I remember going to, it was actually my very first ECC, and I wasn't known as DarksydePhil back then. I was known as fucking Whoa Moses. So people were like, oh, are you Whoa Moses? And as soon as the first person said that to me in person, I was like, that name's got to go. I can't be called Whoa Moses for the rest of my life if I'm going to be playing Street Fighter. I have to get rid of this name. And so I went home, and once again, similarly, I couldn't think of anything that I really liked or I wanted to use. At one point, AOL kind of went out of style, and everyone started using, you know, DSL and cable modems. And so when that happened, I kept up with a lot of the people who I used to know through AOL Instant Messenger. It was actually a separate program from the AOL dial-up internet program that you would use on the side to contact people. And people still use it today, but it's really fallen out of popularity since a lot of people just text each other and do other stuff now, okay? So AOL Instant Messenger, I decided to change my name, and I changed my name to DarksydePhil. Okay, and I liked it for a few reasons. Number one, DarksydePhil. It's quick, it's easy, it has a flair, but it also is my real name. Number two, you could abbreviate it, DSP. And how cool is that? It's a short thing, DSP. And that's what I used when I went to tournaments. I wasn't entering as DarksydePhil, the DSP, and everyone knew, oh, DSP, we know who DSP is. It's a catchy, quick abbreviation. The dark side portion of it literally came from a piece of shit song that was out at the time, around the year 2000. I forget what the fuck the name of the band was because they were terrible. They were like a mix of rock and rap, and it was just like they were really bad. And I remember there was like a catchy song that was real popular at the time, and one of them was named Dark Side, but I don't remember if it was spelled with an I or a Y. But I said I don't want to be associated with the Star Wars thing, so I just took the name Dark Side, changed the I to a Y, slapped it in front of Phil, and that's how I came up with the name. There's no amazing meaning to it or anything like that. That's the full story of why I started using DarksydePhil, and it just caught on, and I've just been using it since. It makes sense. Now, there's thousands of people around the globe who know me by that name, and there's no reason to change it, okay? Alright. Next question. It looks like we're going to have some problems today because it looks like my stream chat disconnected yet again. Thanks, Twitch, for fucking up repeatedly for this past several months. Question is from Brandon 763, and he says, hey Phil, do you believe that handheld gaming is dying? Ever since the rise of the iPhone, incidentally, I see more and more people play mobile games like Angry Birds, while handheld systems like the PS Vita or the Nintendo 3DS aren't getting that much attention anymore. This is understandable because people who play games on their iOS devices, iOS is the operating, you know, the operating system for iPhone, they pay far, far less for their games than, say, a hardcore gamer who plays on the PS Vita or the 3DS. Do you think handheld systems like the PS Vita and the 3DS have a chance against mobile gaming? And again, that's from Brandon 763. The thing is, they're completely different experiences, at least from the most part. Sure, I can get ports of certain games on my iPhone. Absolutely. I could play, I think there's like a Final Fantasy game or two I could play on here and stuff like that. But for the most part, the games that most people are playing on this kind of a platform are games that are quick one-off games. They don't have any kind of complex gameplay. They're very easy to jump into. They're very easy to play. And they're very easy to say, I play for 5 minutes, I put it down. And that's the difference between this and, say, an experience on your Nintendo 3DS, where on your 3DS you're buying, you know, a $50 retail game, you're getting a complex experience, you're going to have higher production values, better graphics. This is typically considered a mainstream retail video game, while most of the stuff that you play on a mobile device is just to pick it up, play it for a few minutes, put it down. And that's why the whole business model of the game costs $4, you know, the game costs $1, $2 here, works. The most successful business model of the mobile gaming right now is the one where it's very quick, very addicting gameplay, and to actually get the best stuff in the game, you have to spend money. So for those games, there's no cap. The game actually is a catch. The game's free. You can play the game indefinitely forever for free, but you'll never get the best stuff in the game. And a lot of the times there's a time limit. Like, for example, maybe you'll have an energy bar and you can play as long as your energy bar is full, and then once it degenerates, now you have to wait 6 hours for it to naturally recharge, or you can spend $1 and instantly recharge it and keep playing the game. Those are the kind of games that are catching on mobile devices. They are a completely different business model than those on these mainstream handhelds, per se. So I think there's a place for both, okay? The thing is, this isn't known as a gaming system. This is a phone primarily first, gaming system second, although it has all that, and it is big business now on these mobile devices to actually have gaming on it. You're never going to get a full experience like something you could get on a mainstream portable gaming device. The thing is this. As I said earlier, gaming has become more mainstream. You've got the games that are easier to play, and less complex experiences and addicting experiences like Call of Duty and Minecraft are dominating the retail gaming market. You've now got these little mobile games dominating this kind of market. And there's always going to be a place for the hardcore, you know, handheld consoles, but expect this shit to get bigger and bigger because this is more mainstream. Everyone has this, and it's easier, it's accessible, and it's cheap to get into. Okay? Alright, next question is from Captain Fireworks 2292, and this may be the last question I do in this part, because I am running out of time. I got about 6-7 minutes left. And Captain Fireworks says, Hey Phil, I'm curious about your opinion on this subject. Physical release versus digital release games. Why is it a big issue for people to physically need the game? Or others that are just games being released just digitally, they don't actually have a physical release, and people end up bitching about wanting these games in their hand than having it digitally on a console. For example, Phoenix Wright 5, which is a physical release in Japan, but is only going to be digital in America, okay? Interesting and timely question, Captain Fireworks, okay? So, previously, I'd say probably, let's jump back 8 years. Let's jump back 8 years to the launch of the Xbox 360. People had an issue with games that were purely digital, and the reason was twofold. Number one, people didn't have great internet. Internet at that point was just reaching the speeds where you could play these games competitively online with not a lot of lag, okay? But they didn't have a lot of bandwidth either. Like, if you're going to download a 10 gigabyte game, it could have taken hours, if not days, to do so, and a lot of people had issue with that, okay? Number two, a lot of games, when you buy them on your console, okay, you can only play them if your console's online. For example, right now, any of my games on Xbox 360 that I've purchased, if I don't have that connected to the internet and logged into Xbox Live, I can't access the full game. I can access a limited version of the game or a demo of the game, but I can't access the full game unless I'm plugged in to confirm that I'm a purchased user of those titles, okay? It's not every game, by the way. It's only certain games that do that, but there are games that are like that. And so people are like, listen, if I have the physical disc in my hand, I don't care if I have internet or I don't, if I'm fucking at home or if I'm at the top of a fucking mountain in Tibet and I have a fucking power generator next to me, if my console's plugged in, I can put the physical game in the disc, in the console, and I can play it. No questions asked, no problems. I can completely 100% understand that mentality. If you have the physical thing, you know you own it, and no one can take that away from you. There's a big controversy, especially with games such as Killer Instinct, especially with the whole always online deal that was going to be with the Xbox One, that you couldn't play games at all if you didn't have an internet connection. To which people were like, what the fuck? There are some people who don't have good internet. How could that be? So I can completely understand wanting the physical disc because it kind of bypasses that kind of a situation. However, it's funny that Captain Fireworks mentioned a game like Phoenix Wright 5. There are certain games that they have an audience, they will sell, but they're not going to be huge, insane, monstrous blockbusters, okay? And a lot of people don't realize this, but to physically run a game, to have a game and physically run it and create the box art, create the physical plastic box, to publish the disc, to put the instruction booklet and everything inside, is extremely costly. It does cost quite a lot of money to physically produce a run of a video game, versus just putting the code of the game on an online service and having the user download it. So now, in this day and age, you know, we're in 2013, we're not in 2007 anymore. When the internet is so much better, I'm sorry, I meant to say 2005, by the way. When the internet is so much better, when internet speeds are getting better, they're not great, but they're getting better in all areas. You can get, like, the other day I just downloaded a game, I forget what it was, and it took me like 5 minutes, not even. It was like, zip! And I'm like, wow, I downloaded a full game in 5 minutes. That's insane. Now, not everyone can do that. And unfortunately, there are certain consoles that don't have the infrastructure to even handle it. For example, my Wii U, even though I have fast internet, when I downloaded Lego City Undercover... Oh, my phone's warning me that the timer's done, so this will be the last question for this portion of Ask the King. When I downloaded Lego City Undercover several months ago, it took me, no exaggeration, it took me over 2 days, 24 hours a day of downloading the game to finish it, because Nintendo's infrastructure is shit. They have an entire virtual store where you can buy all their games digitally, but it takes the entire day's worth, 24 hours plus, to download the full game. What the fuck were they thinking? It's like they wanted to catch up to Xbox and PlayStation, but they didn't have any of the means or resources, so they completely just did a half-assed effort. So there are pros and cons to having physical and digital. I definitely see in the future games that don't have as big of an audience in certain regions anymore. Perfect example here, JRPGs. JRPGs right now, unfortunately, are not seeing a lot of favor in North American audiences. A lot of people are saying, they're long, they're drawn out, they're boring, they're too much like anime, and it's more for a niche audience. I could definitely see games, for example, I just played Tales of Exilia. What if it didn't do so well in sales numbers, and next year they want to release Tales of Exilia 2? They could do it as a digital release, so now you don't have to worry about sinking all that money into publishing all the physical box and everything, and you can actually have it come out digitally, and people will probably buy it, the same people who would have bought it physically in the store, and that company just saved themselves so much money that they would have had to waste making the physical game. So I can completely understand the situation with digital games. Now, there are people who are going to bitch, of course, because there are these people, it's the same conspiracy theorists. Oh my god, they're going to take away our games. If our internet's gone, we can never play games. Oh my god. It is a conspiracy theory. It's people going overboard. Yes, there are definitely cons to needing an internet connection to play games that you've downloaded, but at the same time, don't blow it out of proportion and say this is the end of gaming, they're trying to control our lives, alright? I can definitely see both sides of the argument. I can definitely see the advantage of getting the physical version of the game, because right now I beat a game and I could go trade it in, and at least I get something back for my value, and subsequently people who don't have a lot of money can go and buy the used game and save some money and buy the game, or buy more games, potentially buy more games that they wouldn't have been able to afford if they bought the new copy of the game. So there's, again, massive pros and cons to each side. There is a place for digital games, especially now that we're getting consoles with bigger hard drives, okay? And I could see a lot more games that in the future that don't have this mainstream appeal as a lot of the other games that come out being released solely as digital releases and actually being successful in that regard. Okay? Alright, so that's it for part 1 of Ask the King. If you're watching on YouTube, just head right over to part 2, which will be a separate video. If you're watching this on Twitch, please give me a few short minutes to take a quick break. I'll probably relax my voice, refill my drink. We'll be right back. We got plenty more questions. Like I said, this is going to be a huge episode of Ask the King, so please hang in there. I'll be right back, and we'll continue on. See you in a minute.